Madame Phylo was a legend. Known as the miracle tailor, she could create jaw-dropping, custom-made outfits in just 1 hour. Her talent drew people from across the land, all eager to wear her enchanting designs. But her shop had one mysterious rule: no one was allowed to try on their clothes before leaving. Most found it odd, but no one dared to question it, until the day someone broke it. Welcome to African Folktales by M.O., a home of intriguing African folktale stories. In the heart of Orita's lively metropolis, there stood a shop unlike any others. Mama Phylo's tailoring shop was well known not just for its superb craftsmanship, but also for its owner's extraordinary talent. She was a quiet woman whose work spoke volumes. With a steady hand, she could make magnificent garments in an hour, each more lovely than the previous. Her works were the envy of everyone in the city, from the wealthy elite to ordinary people who saved for months just to buy a single gown. Her name was known across the city and in other villages far away. Her hands worked with astonishing speed and flawless precision. That was the secret to her success. No one knew how she did what she did, and Mama Phylo never explained. But one rule was enforced in her shop: sumptuous fabrics and captivating designs brimmed, yet people could not try on a dress before buying it. There were those who thought Mama Phylo knew her creations were so exquisite that fittings were unnecessary, and there were those who thought the reason was more mysterious. Regardless of whether the rule was true or not, it was unspoken but unbreakable, and nobody dared to question it. For the city's elite, the shop was a haven, a place where even a dress of the simplest could turn into magic. While the rule was unusual, it was always meted out. After all, Mama Phylo's dresses were worth their weight in gold. Her designs could take the most unassuming woman and make her a picture of grace and elegance. Amarachi was an inquisitive and beautiful woman, and for years her interest had been aroused by the stories of Mama Phylo's extraordinary talent. She had often been told about the dresses of the miraculous kind, and the mysterious power that seemed to possess them. Amarachi dreamed of one day wearing one of the tailor's masterpieces, like many others in the city. The strict rule against trying on the dresses left her uneasy, however. Regardless of how amazing the clothing seemed to be, she could not escape that feeling of being uneasy. On a sunny afternoon, curiosity and longing got the better of her, and she paid Mama Phylo's shop a visit. With her 2 closest friends, Gina and Eve, they entered the bustling city center. As soon as they walked into the shop, they fell in love with the ambience. The warm, earthy smell of fabric, the glimmer of the dresses on the mannequins, and the steady hum of a sewing machine in the back. Mama Phylo was working hard, her hands flying as she worked with amazing skill. The trio stood in amazement, with wide-eyed admiration at the dresses, one more stunning than the other. But Amarachi quickly gave in to the temptation. She knew better, but she slid one of the gowns on, a breathtaking red dress with silky smooth fabric and a vivid rich color that seemed to beckon her. Amarachi quickly dashed into the other gown as her friends continued to look at all the other dresses. As soon as the fabric wrapped around her, she felt a cold shiver run down her spine. The room went silent all of a sudden, the air heavy with tension. But she stood motionless, her grip tightening around the foreboding sensation that all was not right. Amarachi didn't even get a chance to answer before she heard the sound of Mama Phylo's voice, sharp and panicked. "No. What have you done?" Her face draining color with fear, the tailor rushed over to her. She hastily tried to remove the dress from Amarachi, her wide eyes filled with a terror that made her hands shake as a shiver ran through the young woman's heart. "Get out. Out of my shop, everyone now." Mama Phylo placed the dress back on its hanger, her usually calm hand shaking and her voice breaking. Her words carried the edge of panic, and her body trembled so hard that Amarachi felt a chill run down her veins. The once bright, inviting shop became gloomy and suffocating. The friends were startled and bewildered, exchanging glances and quietly making their way to the door, their minds awhirl with unanswered questions. The air seemed to return to normal as soon as the trio stepped outside. But something had been irrevocably changed in Mama Phylo's shop. She looked at the dress that had been touched, and the miracle tailor's once steady hands trembled uncontrollably. Mama Phylo was finishing a dress that evening, and her hands shook as she did because it was unlike any of her renowned creations. The seams were off, the stitches were misaligned, and the fabric seemed dead. Clearly something had gone very wrong. News of Mama Phylo's sudden illness spread quickly around the city. Rumors about a curse of the former miracle worker spread as people started talking. Word spread quickly, and it was quickly apparent that Mama Phylo's once esteemed abilities had been shrouded by something wicked. Some say that the tailor had struck a bargain with a sinister forest spirit years back, and in exchange for becoming remarkably skilled he was bound to one sacred rule. Once again, the dresses were to be taken to the customer with no one ever being allowed to try them on before leaving with them. The tale said that if the tailor broke this rule, the spirit's wrath would come down upon the tailor and her special talent would be taken from her. The whispers grew and the truth to the story seemed to be set in stone. Before long, people who had previously respected Mama Phylo began to shy away. And then wealthy clients who had previously lined up for her dresses began to seek out other tailors. You could see the fear of the curse. While Mama Phylo was alone in her shop, she could do nothing but listen. She tried to sew another dress, but her hands shook even as she struggled with the fabric, which fought her every inch of the way. The skill that had once made her the city's most sought-after tailor had left her, and she could not get it back. Mama Phylo's condition kept getting worse as time went on, but her hands trembled without relent, ruining the previously perfect stitching, leaving it uneven and sloppy. Each subsequent dress she made was worse than the one before, and eventually even her most devoted customers stopped coming to her. But it wasn't only her talent that was lost, the guilt weighed even heavier. Amarachi broke the sacred rule and she understood that this curse was unleashed. While she had always been mindful of how fragile her arrangement with the spirit was, she'd never really thought that it would result in this. It was unmistakably regret that tortured her, day and night. She wanted to undo what had already happened, to undo the moment Amarachi put on that dress even though she had been warned. It was already too late though. Sitting in the dimly lit shop, Mama Phylo was overwhelmed by guilt, knowing that she was no longer the miraculous tailor that she once was. She knew she could not escape the spirit's anger was already starting to overtake her. Days ticked by slowly and Mama Phylo's reputation continued to tarnish. She could feel the spirit's presence growing stronger by the day. And there was an unnatural energy to the atmosphere, a constant nudge at the back of her mind that she had broken the pact. Mama Phylo was driven by a longing for redemption and decided to go back to the forest where she first met the spirit. She hoped she would find it and beg for forgiveness, that all the damage she did could be undone. It was a gamble, but a risky one, and she had no other choice. The fate of her life, her craft, maybe even her soul, was in the balance. The route to the spirit's abode was dark, and the journey was perilous. But Mama Phylo did not relent. She gave herself hope that she could somehow fix things. When she finally reached the spirit's lair, she was greeted by the same uneasy presence she had felt before. She saw the spirit before her, its shape indistinct and wrapped in shadows. Its eyes glistened an unearthly blue, and its voice reverberated through the air. "You are here, Mama Phylo. Are you here to reverse what you had done?" Tears were pouring down Mama Phylo's cheeks. "Please forgive me," she pleaded. "I never wanted any of this to happen. At the end, I was desperate and I made a terrible mistake. Please give me back my gift. I'll do anything." Contemplating her request, it narrowed its eyes. Contempt and curiosity both filled the spirit's eyes as it looked at Mama Phylo. "You seek redemption, but at a cost," it said, its voice sounding of leaves rustling in an empty forest. Mama Phylo eagerly nodded, willing to pay any price. "I'll do anything. Please, just bring back my gift. I can't live without it." The form of the spirit flickered, its presence becoming more and more intimidating. "But if you want your gift back, you have to give away something you care about very much, a soul for power. You will get your abilities back, but you will never be able to rest again." The spirit's demand caused Mama Phylo to draw back in shock, appalled. "A soul? My soul?" she whispered in disbelief. "Yes," the spirit replied. "In exchange, your talent will return, but you will always be tied to me. You will never break the pact you made." Mama Phylo stopped to wonder. It was too steep a price to pay, a price no one should be forced to pay. But when she recalled her lost skills, her failing shop, and the life she once knew, she knew she had no other choice. She whispered, her voice unsteady, "I agree. I accept the cost." She nodded and the darkness all around her seemed to swallow her whole. Mama Phylo's hands steadied when she came back to her shop. The trembling that had been bothering her was gone, and her precision came back. She found the talent that she believed she had lost was again restored, and she was again known as the miracle tailor of Orita. Yet something had changed. Her eyes had lost its light, it was cold and calculating now. What once brought her shop warmth now brought a chill. Not one person made mention of the difference, though people did notice. Now that her masterpieces had become so popular, they were too eager to acquire them to notice the strange aura that had now enveloped her. The dresses Mother Phylo made were perfectly crafted as before, but they were empty. They no longer had the magic they once had. Mama Phylo can't shake the void that used to be filled with the happiness that filtered into her creations. Every day that passed, Mama Phylo's thoughts became more troubled. She was haunted by the spirit's presence, as a reminder of a freedom lost. What was once her amazing gift felt like a burden. Her dresses stayed perfect, but the pride that had once accompanied them was gone. They didn't have that soul anymore. She'd given up her soul, more than just her soul, she'd given up her being. She wasn't the same person she used to be, and no number of beautiful dresses could replace the emptiness in her chest. They started to take notice in the city too. However, a sense of fear had started to seep into Mama Phylo's work. No one was as captivated by her creations as they used to be. They came by, but they didn't hang. They knew something was off. Mama Phylo's hands moved with mechanical precision. The joy that had once animated them faded memory. Each day the spirit's demands became harsher, and its hold on her became more and more relentless. She had made a pact and had been caught in its web. Her dresses were flawless, but they were cold and devoid of life. The magic was gone, and with it, the last shreds of Mama Phylo's humanity. The last customer walked into her shop and asked for a dress for her wedding. Her hands steady, Mama Phylo's heart hollow, worked through the night. The dress was finished, and she stepped back to take a look at it, perfect and flawless, but completely missing the magic it once held. Mama Phylo felt a last heaviness descend on her shoulders as the customer departed with the dress. She had given her life to the craft, and now there was nothing left. Mama Phylo sat alone in the faint glow of her now quiet shop, her fingers working the fabric to the rhythm of no longer loving her craft. The sewing machine used to work constantly, and the shop once thrummed with the chatter of customers. The dresses, as flawless as ever, no longer had the same trick to them. Mama Phylo realized. Her hands, as they always were steady now, sewing not from love or inspiration, but from a mechanical compulsion, a force driven by the spirit's subtle, powerful grip. Mama Phylo's last customer of that morning was a young bride-to-be, looking for the perfect wedding gown. She placed her order eager, drawn by stories of Mama Phylo's miraculous dresses, ignorant of the curse that had taken over the shop. With Mama Phylo working all the night, her hands looking as though they were being moved by some unseen force. The fabric of the finished dress gleamed gently, even in the shop's dim glow. However, there was no joy of creation left in Mama Phylo. All that was left was the deep emptiness in the pit of her soul. Mama Phylo handed the woman her dress with a hollow smile when she came to collect it. The customer was happy, giddy with the flawless craftsmanship, but Mama Phylo just watched, her heart heavy with everything she had sacrificed. No longer a miracle tailor of Orita, she was now only a shadow of her former self, a woman who was now held captive by the very talent that had once awarded her greatness. She stepped out of the shop, the door clicking behind her and her excitement hanging in the air. However, Mama Phylo was overcome with a strange, chilling emptiness. The shop was silent now. It was only the first time she had really understood the price of the power she had chased so ardently. Not only was it her soul that was lost, it was everything that made her human. It had gobbled her up, taking everything that made her who she was from her. She had wanted greatness so much and worked so hard to keep her talent that she had neglected the most important thing of all, her humanity. Moonlight poured through the windows that evening, and Mama Phylo sat at the heart of her shop surrounded by the dresses that used to hold the passion of her craft. Now they were just beautiful pieces, lifeless and made by hands that were not longer enamored with the art. She had achieved everything she had wanted, but it had all come at a staggering cost. Mama Phylo knew that whatever gowns she made, they would never be as fulfilling to her as making something born from love, but the woman who had entered full of hope and dreams had left with a dress that would make her wedding day flawless. She had given everything into her talent, but in the end it was never enough. The spirit had taken hold over her and it was unbreakable, she couldn't turn back. Mama Phylo's shop had been deserted for days, once a lively hub of creativity and craftsmanship, once they delivered the final dress. In Orita, once a hive of talk of her extraordinary talents, she was only spoken about in hushed tones of fear and pity. No one wanted to be near her, for they feared the curse that had touched the legendary tailor. Mama Phylo's shop was a tomb, and Mama Phylo its restless ghost, wandering through the rooms in a daze, her spirit having seemingly fled. Her life had been spent enjoying the fruits of her labor, but she had never stopped to consider what it had taken out of her. The deal with the malevolent spirit had given her her amazing talent, but had a hidden price, one she never imagined. Mama Phylo had thought that by giving up a minor principle, she would gain everything she wanted. But now, in the silence of her empty shop, she understood the lesson too late. The spirit has given her greatness, but in return, the spirit took her soul. As the days passed by and she worked hard, her humanity dissolved until she was but a puppet, her hands moving without thought, her eyes void of anything, her heart empty. Mama Phylo's name slipped into legend over the years. And her shop, once crowded, she was not mentioned any longer with respect. Instead, they remembered her with fear and remorse. Stories circulated about the tailor who gave up all for power, who broke a sacred rule and was punished with the ultimate price. Anybody who heard the message knew it was unmistakable. Power, fame, and success cost. Sometimes, it costs more than one can bear. Mama Phylo's story morphed into a cautionary lesson, that a pursuit of greatness stoked by selfishness or greed could lead to ruin. The spirit, though granting her every wish, asked for more than just her soul. It claimed her very identity. In the end, Mama Phylo finally understood that some sacrifices are too big and some bargains are too dangerous to accept. Although her shop remained empty, the lesson she taught would live on forever. Don't ever sacrifice your humanity for something as ephemeral as power.